Hey everyone, welcome to this week's Offer Fundamentals call. We have had some technical issues to kick off, but I think we've started to resolve it now. Been logged out of the main Zoom account for some reason, so is what it is. But we've got a backup account, so good to go. We'll get that sorted for next week, so the same links will be working. We're going to talk today about a few things. Actually, the focus of the call is going to be kind of based around organic, in general. So seems to be a lot of kind of probing and questions there in the lounge in general. I'm going to start with just some general questions that we've had from the lounge overall, because I kind of want to keep these questions or these calls focused to kind of not just theory that's like enjoyable for us, but that's actually kind of as practical or as close to the bone for what you guys have as problems, in the here and now. So yeah, that's kind of going to be the agenda for the call here today. Before we get started, Ans, you got a hand up. So what's up? How can I help?
Yeah, man. I have a question about offer architecture
Yep.
or non-ROI offers. I was doing some research and then I used criteria that you have shared in offer fundamentals. They have to have big magnitude of problem, it needs to be
Yep.
comorbidities, right? So I went through this criteria and then one offer that kept showing up was sleep optimization. Entrepreneurs, I deal with this myself a lot, racing mind and not being able to sleep, turn off the brain. But then I was struggling with if I tell them, okay, use this 15 minutes routine to sleep faster, like what would then the upsell be? Would it like be supplements or I was like really struggling with what could
Yeah.
be the upsells and backend for this offer could be.
Yeah. The typically on sleep I've seen like kind of a lot of melatonin type supplements or I think magnesium as well being done for guys. Um Typically what you want to do is put the problem on a timeline and talk about so like another the comorbidities is another lens you could kind of go drilling down here for. So, like for example, if sleep is a huge issue for them, where else is this cropping up in their life? What other ways is it creating problems? So, like you can go with what else can I solve this more efficiently, which is more supplements, right? In the upsell path, or you can like shift to a parallel offer and go, what else is this costing you? And solve those problems there. So, for example, if they're sleep, maybe they're dealing with stress, right? So now, are you feeling stressed, or are you a chronic procrastinator, or are you a chronic overconsumer of just technology and media at all? Sleep is downstream. Sleep is a downstream problem of this other thing, right? So you can look at it through that lens. It's not always one of the challenges when you go that route is kind of one of the challenges when you go that route is the kind of flip over, right? How do I make a logical flip over that they can kind of say yes to versus alienating, 70% of the audience immediately and only have 30% being engaged. And as a result, the offer doesn't convert because you haven't threaded that narrow line properly. So you kind of have to figure out what a ubiquitous additional comorbidity or problem is that makes sense that you can kind of build an additional offer around. Um, yeah, so like if
Sleep apnea would be a good one.
Yeah, sleep apnea. But for someone with sleep issues may not necessarily have sleep apnea. But if you're dealing with sleep apnea as a front end offer, um, you could look at it how what are areas in their life problems are cropping up. What are problems? Sorry, what other areas of life problems are cropping up in, and build additional products or service around that. But the typical model is usually supplements. It's usually kind of in that supplement realm, and you'll usually have people who will have they will any of the offers I've seen that do well on that kind of the guys typically come from they have domain specific knowledge or expertise anyway. The supplement is something they were building already, and then they bolt the info to the front of it, right? Versus going the other way around. But like the supplements exist that help with that. You just have to go and understand the mechanisms and reverse engineer what a product. And this kind of links into your question that you asked in the land, Rishi, about creating ethical products, right? It's kind of actually kind of quite closely linked to it actually as well, because like we can create a supplement and just like sell something, but it has no actual utility to the end user. We're just like tapping into the desire to solve the problem and just putting some magic potion in front of them there, right? Um, but so to answer kind of Rishi's question, which is kind of like tied into this, is we go and then mechanistically find what our limitations are, and then figuring out how to aggregate additional knowledge and resources to fill in those gaps in our own knowledge. So sometimes that's partnering. Sometimes, like for example, go and see what the biggest sleep supplements out there are. Like, go and look at their formulations. Go
I've
and
tried all of them.
yeah,
I've tried all of them.
yeah, you're so right. So this we have a customer answer, right? Ans is going to be slinging the offer in the DMs
No,
here.
I have failed almost every health program, every health modality, almost everything, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And I've spent so much, like I know what works now and what doesn't work and what will
yeah,
never work.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, so it's sometimes it's acquisition of knowledge, but yeah, you can look at the things that are co-occurrences as well as another option. Sometimes those are typically like, even if you can't make them perfectly work, they might serve well as an upsell two or
Um,
three, right? Something, or just a back end parallel offer. So it's never wasted energy. But the typical structure would be an upsell with more supplements. Sorry, an upsell with supplements. Get the front end to be like an all singing, all dancing version of the solution on the front. Go find supplements that make sense, and then for sleep, I may not do it. A community does make sense as O2O2 for a lot of those types of offers, but they're usually based around identity building stuff. But sleep in particular, like, okay, if it was procrastination, a community would make sense because get around other people who are solving this problem for support. But sleep is just kind of like something people just want to, like, I just want to take a pill and move on, right? That's why supplements would do so well. They just want the problem solved. They don't really feel like it's an identity based issue, even though it really kind of comes back to what are the root causes, right? If the root cause is just simply their stress at work, it's like, just help me get to sleep. Maybe if they can get some lifestyle stuff back in balance, they're good. If the reason they're doing it is because they're manic depressive and have all these a different comorbidity at the root cause of it, or co-occurrence at the cause of it, then it would be more identity based potentially. So, but there's so much variability there, and I think the majority of people. This comes back to like the whole inside outside psyche call that we did months ago, right? Where it's like they may, let's say 80% of the people who have sleep issues may be depressed. Let's just pluck that number out of the sky and say it's a fact here for the moment, just as a hypothetical, right? But if of that 80%, 99% of them are completely unaware of it, we can't sell them a depression offer because it's just so completely outside their universe that they just can't make sense of it, right?
Mhm.
Unless we have a good flip over process and really kind of like lean into the fact that, let's say we had data that 80% of the people with sleep issues are depressed, and here are the symptoms of depression. We have to give them some sort of mental evaluator. But let's say offhandedly we couldn't do that, and they have a rejection of it. We can't sell kind of like that community focused type stuff up there for that reason, because it's just kind of so outside their realm of possibility or where they're at. They're just not ready for that. That would be kind of an education cycle is more than likely needed for that, to make sense. But okay,
Mhm.
if you put a gun to my head and said, Kevin, you have to make a sleep offer work, um, uh,
Mm.
right now, I would go look at the best supplements on the market. I'd reverse engineer their formulations. And that would be kind of where my starting point would be. Hey, Omer, um, you can hop in now here in just a second. Let me close this thought. Um, yeah, I would go and look at the formulation side first, right? So try and get the absolute, all of the research, whatever the components are. If it's magnesium citrate or magnesium, calcium carbonate, or whatever the components are, whichever one is the functional one, that would be what I would base my formulation around. Any of the additional supportive therapies, and then the front end protocol would be more based around like sleep hygiene, habits before bed, maybe how exercise in general ties in with this, and all singing, all dancing, lifestyle modification up front, and then sleep supplements that support that. That would be the kind of 1-2 combo I would be building the whole offer around. And then, I would analyze that market from a comorbidities perspective or co-occurrences, and I'd probably make that as the basis of upsell two or three, kind of expecting that even, let's say, as upsell two, I would expect 50% of the traffic would probably only be potential buyers, right? And that not meaning I could get a 50% conversion rate, but for every click I get there, only half of them could ever even consider the offer. The other 50% are just like, this isn't for me, just based on them rejecting that co-occurrence, right? It's just not for it, never would be, and no amount of marketing or sales or psychology would flip that. But that would be kind of the foundations I would build it around. Uh,
Mhm.
and maybe you could expand on that. I need to dig a bit more in the market. Maybe you'll spot other opportunities, but that would be where my mental point of origin would be around if I wanted to go into that market. How I'd be thinking.
Yeah, yeah. So just a thought on that, right? So on the front end, you say like finding out unique formulations these some supplements have? Maybe like they are using some natural like remedy, like and no side effects, something like that.
Yeah,
And could you then tease this possibility of using supplements like which are natural on the front end,
yeah,
plus some kind of routine, like military technique with supplements or something?
you could put that in, yeah, for sure. That could be part in mechanistically. You could link it. You could hint at it in the copy in the VSLs. Your supplement regimes could be like baked in, but into your mechanism. But your and then your upsell path you present us. Hey, here we recommended. We actually have a company that builds the supplements. Like just introduce it as part of the upsell path. Obviously, I'm in mechanic mode now as opposed to copywriter mode. But that would be that would be the foundation, the nucleus. I'd start building up my whole thinking around it. But I'm sure there's lots of great stuff you could add as like bumps. Like I'm sure there's like you know sleep hygiene checklists, or even like I'm sure you could create like some of these audio programs that are like good for just like drifting off to sleep, as kind of like even some of that would they're obvious bonuses to the core product if they wouldn't be other offers. So you just go digging around and something would emerge. um I'm sure there's more to it there, but that would be where my head would be starting with for this. It would be kind of it would be really a supplement company with info education up front.
Nice. Yeah, appreciate it. Sounds very good.
Perfect, perfect. And or sorry, Umer.
What's up, Kevin?
Hey,
How
how are
you
you?
doing?
Good, good.
Nice. Yeah, just a quick question. So for my estriol creams for vaginal health, sort of been recommended several different types of pages. Uh, so we were looking at that page before. Alan looked at it and was like, right, you need to do like a long form sales page. Um, And then Charles just had a look at it and he was like, I think this would do really well with an e-commerce style page. So like what's the thought process? Maybe there's just no right answer, but I just feel like I keep kind of spinning my wheels a little bit. Like,
There's a lot of optionality, right? Like there's a lot of mechanisms you could use to sell this product, and everyone has their kind of like their own personal bias, spin, mental point of origin on how they would approach it. Um, the issue you have with that offer, just based on where you're at with it right now, is firstly, it's unproven insofar as you haven't sold any of the units yet.
mm,
So form factor is this nebulous thing at the moment for you, where we're kind of bouncing around between should it be this, should it be that, should it be the other, but we haven't got a buyer in any of the mechanisms yet, or just good leading indicator data. So until
mm,
we get someone purchasing, it's hard to know if the issue is we need to change the page or is it the actual product issue. Now, my inclination based on the couple of times we've looked at it, I can't remember what we said last time we talked about it, but I think there was a subset of the audience from a conversation perspective
yeah,
that
we did.
like,
Just for own and
yeah, I think that said yes, exactly, that segment of the market.
good memory.
I can't yeah, I just remembered like the more we pulled on that thread, that was for me where I felt the easiest. Yeah, they're already partway through the research process,
Hmm.
and they're on the fence about starting hormonal therapy. Yeah, I'm back there now.
Mm,
I don't think any page format matters if you go after that segment of the audience initially. And so I would build a simple econ page around that in the short term, with the entire focus being around that portion of the audience,
mm,
with the sole purpose being for me, while I'm creating this, validating someone will purchase. Then the perfect format I would reimagine later. But it's like, can I get someone to purchase this for any amount of ad spend at the moment, just by going for what I feel is the most bottom of funnel version of the page? You already have buyer proxies in other markets, so you're kind of
yeah.
you more than likely can you more than likely have something there anyway.
Yeah.
But there's so many like micro nuances from a brand aesthetic perspective, and would like, for example, like you could do an offer. Let's say it was a lip gloss, just to switch market for a second here.
Hmm.
But a lot of the lip gloss that's selling is this like really premium high quality feel to the packaging, and we have this like the set. It's identical to the identical to all other brands, but it's packaged like garbage, and they reject the offer based on that aspect, not just based on how it reflexively looks, not on the actual promise of the product, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I would never buy that lip gloss because of the way it looks, right? And so
But that's like, but
I
that's, I
don't
guess,
think
a
you have
kind of a
that.
commodity, right?
Yes, but the reason I bring that up into the conversation
Hmm.
is I'm just showing you part of what we're part of the issue of just validating a singular purchase
Yeah, I
first
understand.
is that like just like if we can get any sort of a CPA on it, like hey, someone it took us $200 to generate a customer. Okay, we that still is well within benchmark in terms of a dirty version of the offer. For testing, especially for something like a cream like this that's a cosmetic. Um, but now we have we know that they're not rejecting the form factor; they're just rejecting the sales packaging for it, right? Whereas the lip gloss example, the reason I brought that lip gloss example in was based on the same type of thinking. It's like if I can't sell this version in a simple, direct way to someone, I have a product issue, right? It's not a mechanistic. It's not the mechanistic version of like the form factor. Should it be long form, short form? Should I do a webinar? Should I not? Should I do a quiz funnel that leads, that from an advertorial to a quiz funnel, then to sales page? Like you've been all over the map,
Yeah.
um, and not in a bad way. Like there's a lot of. I think you've got a great product. I
Mm.
really do. I think it's on the money, and it's for it's it's meeting it's meeting its natural point in time where the market is looking at that based on just demographic
Mm.
changes, and then partially due to even that hormonal stuff we've been talking about, like
Hmm.
HRT for women. Men, it's been much more popularized for a lot longer. So it's more, there's more mass consciousness on that, but the women are slowly but surely following in behind. So I think that there's an embedded demand there for this.
Hmm.
And for me, if I just wanted to validate it, I would do a really simple, straightforward e-commerce page, really leaning into that HRT, try this before HRT angle that we had from the previous call. Just validate any purchases, purchase conversion events. If I got a purchase for this thing and it cost me $200 to generate a sale, that for me is a win. Just it's a generalized validation because cosmetics are so much more there's so much more nuance in there from will I trust putting this on my skin versus
Yeah.
a versus a info product where it's just like, do I believe in the mechanism of the promise of this piece of information, or course or whatever it is that's being sold. I
So
think it's
how do I think about the need for a long form page? Because with this particular product, it needs quite a bit of education because there's a lot of fear around hormones and cancer and
yeah,
ingredients and this and that. How do you balance it?
yeah. What version of the page do we have? Do you like what version of the page are you thinking of this inside of in terms of as a reference point?
So the one I'm working on right now is like a super long ass story into the thing,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking about spinning up a more, supplement style ecom page, but maybe just having a much more heavy sort of objection handling throughout. It's natural hormones, it's local, it's not systemic,
Are any of
blah
your
blah blah.
are any of your competitors are any of your competitors running Google Shopping ads?
Great question. Nothing I have ever thought about or know what that even means.
Google Shopping ads are these are like bottom of funnel e-commerce. So people are like literally it's based on keywords.
Hmm.
Someone is I don't know like whatever the like highest density keyword search term that you have. I don't know whatever what's give me one of the other brands.
Um, there's uh Rejuvene. It's
Can you
a supplement. Rejuvene's a supplement. Yeah,
Rejuvene?
yeah. Supplements aren't exactly like for like though because it's not. You don't put it on your skin.
Rejuvene Life Sciences Inc. Does that sound right?
No, you could do Parlor Games. Parlor Games, Silky Peach.
Paste the verbatim description of this into the chat.
Sure, right here. Parlor Games. Here you go. Silky Peach. Silky Peach is the product.
Perfect, perfect. That's what I would have thought. That's how I would have spelled it. But
Yeah, yeah.
part of the game, Silky Peach, Silky Peak. Okay, perfect. Okay, now let me just share my screen here.
Yes.
So these are Google Shopping ads, right? So
Mhm.
I'm not sure if we can find this, specific keywords for your version of this offer, but this is someone who is literally selling via ecom, someone who's now it's on eBay, right? But they're using intent ads, right? So if I've come for this searching this keyword, are these all the same? They're probably not. So
Mm,
this is yes, a VM. So there are other people selling these products.
kind of, yeah. It's not a like for like, but it plays in the same category, more or
Yeah,
less.
so we have shopping ads that are getting people who are essentially at the point of purchase. The nice thing about these ads, you have to set up what's called a Google Shopping feed. So what I would do is I would do this with Shopify, because Shopify has simple native apps that set up that feed for you that you can plug in. So the Shopify store is going to cost $30. Setting up your landing page for it, similar to the ones you've done with your lovable pages, is probably going to be, a day or two in terms of like reformatting any of those pages.
Hmm.
Optimize it for ecom as nicely as you can, and then set up a Google Shopping feed ad. So it'll take the product listing feed, it'll pull all the keywords that are related from your ecom page in its descriptions into the feed. And
Mm.
as long as you've given a base clear description, go and see whichever one of the other pages makes sense. You'll get people who are organically searching for this. And what that will give you an insight into is, one, are people clicking and purchasing, just even trusting my page as a potential alternative?
Mm.
And you're getting them right you're getting them right at the point of purchase. They're already actively searching for a solution similar to this.
Hmm.
This will help us just generally validate this product.
Yeah.
Now, maybe a case that we can't, if there's none of these Google Shopping ads, we have to go the other route where we have to build a direct version of the page and go for the bottom of funnel people who just aren't searching for it. And that was kind of where we had the previous audience. That's from the previous call where we were talking about this, right? Where I would just speak to them more directly. But this, I think you can go more generalized e-commerce rather than having it be. Although I still think you could weave some of what we had in there from a, if you're considering HRT but you want to try something else, try this. Obviously my head's not in the same mental space that I was in the previous call. I had way better insight for you back there just because we've done so much more digging.
Mm.
But this would be I would be looking to see if this was possible to get set up for this offer just as a validator.
Okay, that's good to hear. Yeah, that's great to hear. Yeah, that makes sense. I'll give that a try.
And some of the stuff you can do first is just go to like basic keyword search tools. Try and find the keywords that you think are like, if someone searched this and for sure they're a purchaser, they're a buyer for this, like, because you're gonna have bottom of funnel stuff that are where people are searching for, okay, the parlor games. Let's say this was an exact copy of your product, and I know it isn't, but they're searching for the parlor games equivalent, and yours is sitting beside it. Um, but it's a one for one swap, and they just try yours as an alternative, right? Then you're gonna have slightly more longer tail discovery type keywords that will emerge, in terms of like what cream is best for XYZ, right? Or what are there any creams for it? These are more kind of like educational type keywords where
Mhm.
people are like learning about it, which is part of what some of the kind of like advertorial slash longer forms elements of the page would be used to kind of sell those people, or certainly it would be part of their awareness journey. Um, and then yeah, but you want to just, if there's like no search volume, what that would be telling you is that nobody is actively searching for this, and so Facebook ads would be needed to just tap into an emergent desire based on a problem, right? We can inject the problem in front of them based on versus them actively searching for it. This gets to tap into them actively exploring the problem on their end, right? And so these should be like easy knock out of the park style customers versus the
Long education,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, but or injecting ads on Facebook. I think the collective conscious of the audience you're dealing with is more ready for this product. So I think Facebook ads would still work really well for this, but we
Mm.
haven't sold anything yet. So it's like we're still, we don't have any data to back that up, other than I'm pretty sure this would work, right? It's an intuition thing, but this
Okay.
one you just get the sales validation, right? You'll
Yeah.
start getting people to check out. You should get a purchase, and it may be a case, you know, it might cost with this, you know, these ads should, these ads, last time I ran shopping ads, they're extraordinarily cheap. like
Yeah.
so cheap. Yeah,
Okay.
extraordinarily cheap. Like I was getting 27-cent clicks to like high ticket econ products. Like
Wow.
just
I-
zero ignore zero
Competition.
yeah zero because but the problem is the reason that's the case is because Google knows that people click 46 of these all at once. They come, they click, they scan
Mm.
your page, they come back out, they go to another. They're evaluative buyers, right? So it's like, okay, we'll just divide the traffic across thing because this is what happens in this ad network. You're being
Right. That's super
benchmarked,
interesting.
you're being benchmarked against 46 other companies selling the same and or similar products. But you should still get a purchase here, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you just even just beat them on price. I would not be trying to like make this profitable right now. It's like I'm literally just trying to say, hey, I have a cream that solves this. Buy it.
Yeah. That's
Believe me
literally
enough to
it.
spend money.
Yeah. Don't care about profit.
Yeah,
Literally just buy it.
it's just pure validation for the moment.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just pure validation of do I have people who believe in this product? Because we know they believe in similar products, but do they believe in my equivalent or my version of it? And then okay, now we like level up the brand aesthetic. We know people will. We can kind of speak to them more overtly. You know, everywhere. But you're like going, okay, at least I validated that this channel sells. Therefore, now I have some degree of validation that I can expand my thinking to all other ad networks. And it's a case of I'm just not necessarily targeting them properly. But like,
Yeah.
for example, on your previous tests, you ran um, shopping
Yeah.
engagement
It
campaigns.
wasn't a direct purchase.
It wasn't a
Yeah.
purchase conversion. So it's like, I'm not
Exactly.
sure. I can't worry. Like we have this nebulous data everywhere, right?
Yeah,
This,
and also the advert was more like curiosity driven. It wasn't like top of funnel, like, hey, are you looking for,
yeah, yeah.
this, and this?
Yeah, which is like if you go back to the self-evident versus evaluative offers call, you were bringing in an evaluative buyer, right?
Yep.
They were going through, and you have an evaluative offer, right? The way we make it more self-evident was kind of kicking it in that, are you considering HRT? Try this first. Then it's like, yeah, of course I am. Why would I try risky hormones when I can try this cream and it would solve may solve my problem, or I could forestall doing this, right? That's kind of the psychology. That hits the more or self-evident crowd. Of course, this is a no-brainer. You know, I was going to go and I don't know, get a teeth whitening, laser teeth whitening, and it was going to cost me, $300, $400, $500. I see your teeth whitening kit with all these reviews and it's $40. That's how you take it. That's the kind of audience who's this, you have an evaluated offer and it becomes self-evident. I'll try that first. It's, a fraction of the cost type thing. I feel like you've got that audience with that. That's why your offer is for that audience, right? It's just like, why wouldn't I try this? It's just so no brainer. But until we kind of prove that with purchases, that's just my hypothesis. But that's the line of thinking I have for the offer, right?
Yeah, exactly. No, I agree. Okay. No, I like it.
But the one thing with these shopping ads is they're not guaranteed to drive traffic. You can set up a shopping feed with this, and if there's no keyword search volume there, you will get zero clicks. And it's like, but I set up shopping ads and it's all set up correctly. And it's like, yeah, because you just don't have embedded traffic. You don't have keyword search traffic for this, right? So that's where I'm saying do a little bit of keyword research to see if does it feel like there's terms here before you kind of go on that journey.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, you see what I'm getting at?
Yeah, yeah, I do. If they're not looking for it, they're not going to find it anyway,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Whereas, but if they are looking for it, you should be able
Yeah,
to just inject yourself here among the crowd, and you should get purchases
yeah,
somewhere.
yeah. Okay, I'll give that a go.
Yeah,
All right, man. That was
super,
great.
excellent. No, no
Nice
worries.
one, mate.
Uh,
Cheers.
anyone else? Got some good questions coming out here. Okay, perfect. Let me check the chat here 1 second. Orestes, go for it.
Yo, bro, how you doing?
Good, good.
I have a question regarding what questions we ask. I
Yes.
don't wanna, yeah, I don't wanna do anything. I don't wanna ask a crazy question. So, what is the topic? Sorry, I just joined a few minutes ago.
Just generalized problems. We're not kind of like doing full offer teardowns or like can you look at this? But the whole kind of thesis of this call, I'm going to make it focus it on organic here in a bit because people want to talk about like launching offers to organic. Kind of the lens of I'm going to be thinking that through is similar to the avatar assumptions call, but look at it from organic versus paid and how the audiences think differently, right? And then just based on form factor as well. But ask your question, I'll tell you if it's like we're going into the weeds. I'll just cut you off, right?
Okay, all good. Yeah, I don't have a question right now, but if it comes to mind, I'll let you know. I just wanted to know what was
Cool.
the purpose
Cool.
of it. But yeah,
Super.
thank you.
Okay, let me kick off this call then properly. Okay. Um, so let me share this doc with everyone. Share with others. Anyone with link. Copy link with some good questions in the lounge, which I'm going to just like flesh out. You guys can hop in here. And then let me zoom in. So Rishi, I've kind of touched a little bit on, put your questions up front. I've touched a little bit on from the ethics perspective. Um, okay, so let's start there. Ethical product creation. We'll just start on this question. So we actually in the workshops I'll be doing shortly, we kind of have a section dedicated to this. The first one-on-one course we're doing is on product creation. So I'll kind of give you a little bit of a sneak peek behind that. Obviously, there's going to be way more on that. But essentially, what we do is we do a personal evaluation of ours and our team's limitations, right? And if you're solo, that's fine. It's just you. Limitations, right? So, for example, ours and our team's limitations, because we have domains of competence, and then we have domains of incompetence, right? And so it's like in an ideal world, all offers we create, we have full domain competence, right? Across the entire customer journey, right? But that's sometimes it'll be a case where you'll have 80% kind of filled in, right? A good example would be Anne's example of sleep is actually a pretty good one, right? I've kind of got all these protocols. I fix my own sleep. Here's my protocol I did first. It's all about exercise, personal habits, etc. But the second I start getting into supplementation, I kind of feel like I'm falling a bit flat, right? So I either have to go and do the research related to that, go and reverse engineer it from someone else, or bring in someone to the team who's got the domain specific knowledge I need to be able to create the correct product for this audience, right? So that's how I think about it anyway. It's like because we will all have some form of a limitation with an offer, but there's nothing stopping us from going and filling in the gaps in our knowledge through research or bringing in additional help, expertise, or whatever. So that would be the where I would think about it from an ethics perspective. The unethical way is just ignore that, sell whatever you want, you know, who cares? Just as long as I can create a marketing angle that will sell, and a lot of companies operate that way. But you don't have to. It's just this requires a little bit more time, energy, and effort. Um. Yeah.
So my question is, why are we creating our own formulation uh, to
For
make sure the uh, revenue model suits us?
yeah. Well, so like you're going to have returns on your return on turn on ad spend, capital, return on invested capital is going to be relative to the revenue you make per sale, right? And the revenue you keep per sale, make slash keep per sale. So like you may be able to find maybe able to find people who will let you like act as an affiliate. But for example, like Amazon has an affiliates program, but it's like 3%. So it's like, okay, you spend all this energy and effort generating the sale, and it's like on a $20 product, and you pick up 70 cents. It's like, sure, that there's no business there, right? So you're like, that's obviously there will be times where that makes more sense, and the reason to do that is you're tapping into existing formulations or not even existing business infrastructure. They have the supply chain, they have the branding, they have all of that, and if you go to partner arrangement with them, but that's what there's like white label supplement companies who will let you do some of this for them, and it's just and all you're doing is essentially paying them to sell They're saying you just be the marketing department and we'll put your logo on it. The product exists, right? And this is what um you can find fulfillment centers that will like package your products for you, and I forget what they're called. Um, but that's essentially, that's the reason we make our own formulations, is because margins go to 100%, minus cost of goods sold, and it's like, whereas this model, it's like you're getting a sliver of that, right? So if you have something, let's say you could get 70% commission somewhere, and you had a supplement that did that, okay, now maybe we're having a conversation, because for that 30%, you can just look, okay, if it's $100 supplement, then I get $70 per sale, as just a stupid simple example. That makes sense, because it's like, well, what is that $30? It's shipping, it's fulfillment, it's branding, it's all of that logistical stuff I don't want to deal with. Great. But if it's like, as we start, the reality is these typically look in the kind of 15 to 30% range when you go that route. And so that just usually doesn't bake itself well into a paid traffic model, because you just don't have enough control. Also, you can't control pricing. If it's a $16 supplement and you need it to work on ads to be a $35 supplement, and you could still generate a conversion there, you still don't have that lever to pull, because you don't really own the product, right? Unless you see what I'm getting at. You could maybe build a bridge page and recharge it for yourself and then drop ship it. But these are the types of limitations you run into when you use other people's products. So you have to have a really good prior existing relationship and a decent enough margins to make the economics work out. So it's primarily an economic
Right.
objection.
I mean, unless you are a health practitioner, it doesn't really make sense to be an affiliate.
Yeah. Like, so if you had a massive audience and a ton of traffic on YouTube and organic, and you didn't want to get into it, but you found a company that you liked and you could recommend the products, and they would give you like 20% commission, just kind of as a, like, you see a lot of YouTubers doing this type of stuff. Yeah, that makes sense. Partially because they just they have no desire. They're serving a different need. But like, from a business perspective, this just doesn't really make sense for us, right? So I think that deals with the first question, which was around product development for traffic.
And what about like marketing related products, right? So like I've consumed so much of knowledge from NHB and from other courses over the years, right? How do I sort it all out? Like what's my unique IP that I can sell?
Yeah. So I'm gonna have to deal with the question here directly first, because we're kind of moving off into the weeds with that one a little bit. That's kind of a little too bespoke to you as such. But what I'll do
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
I'll answer these questions as they were in the lounge. Um,
Hmm.
the Well, kind of actually, Umair's example beforehand, it's kind of an example of the cold traffic won't work versus warm. We're kind of there's an evaluate. We've just gone through an evaluation there where it's like, I think cold traffic could work. Cold traffic can work for all offers at some level, right? But there's known and unknown elements, right? Unknown elements to every offer. And the first one you're trying to do is probing for what product market fit. And that's kind of where Umair is at with the skincare the vaginal health supplement. It's like we both think that there is a real demand there and a real product there, and the qualitative factors of its design feel pretty clean to me, and it should be a selling product. But based on the previous formats he's tested, we're not quite so sure. So it's like we're trying to just find the warmer traffic to validate the offer, and then we can go back with a proven offer to a broader cold audience, right? But that's where it is. So you kind of like lens it through the limitations that you're running into with have I sold this yet? It's like these are the types of questions yet. Have I sold this yet? Is anyone else selling this yet? This or something similar yet? And then if the answer is yes, why won't they sell mine? For Umair's example, there is a yes there, right? If the answer is no, why is that the case? And you're kind of like, you can run into a branch here. If it's no, it's like, well, there's no demand. There's no demand, and never will be. There's no awareness of a solution to the problem. But if there is a problem and you have a solution, then people will would be open to it, right? Or the magnitude of the problem is so low that nobody cares about solving the problem, right? These types of things. You could keep splitting this more, but these are just kind of like Yes, right. And so these are some of the, there's no demand, no demand is kind of attached to this magnitude of the problem thing. No demand, but that could be based on awareness. So where they are now, there's no awareness of a solution, kind of interlinked in some ways. But you see where I'm going with that. You just kind of like split your thinking of that. If yes, it's like, okay, what's the issue with my product? Why is mine not selling? Is it the qualitative factors? Do I not have enough brand authority or trust factors? Right? What's missing that my competitors have? Right? So you kind of look at it through the limitations. And Umair's kind of in that audience. It's like other people are selling, so like, but this is where where the final degree of skepticism. Sorry, I'll just mute you there, and I've hopped in from another one. But yeah, does that clear that up? The kind of the line of thinking of that, Rishi?
Yeah.
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 And then yeah, Steve, hop in. No, you had your hand up.
Hey, brother. I just I had to switch off my computer because I'm getting ready to drive. I think it was Rishi that just asked how do we differentiate, come up with our own IP? It's actually rather simple. It
Yes.
doesn't have to be super bespoke because of what we have available here in NHB. I can say it like this. All you're doing is making a clear promise about one thing. That's all you have to do. And your one thing is, this is the problem that I'm going to remove for you. And maybe there's a million other things out there, but your unique process for getting them to where they want to go faster, simpler, or with less money, like with less resources available, that's all you need for an IP.
Yeah.
If you can do that, you're good to go, because that's actually what makes people leave the existing solutions they have and look for a new way to solve something. They're always trying to make something more efficient for getting the thing out of the way and compressing the time that they're getting to the outcome. And however your process is for just doing something faster, easier, or with less resources, that's as long as they're already paying to solve that problem, you stand a good chance at having something that has legs.
Okay.
Yep. The uniform solution, well-defined
How
problem.
do I describe the process without using NHB knowledge or someone else's knowledge? Because I'm influenced by that so much.
I think this comes down to the problem you want to solve. If you want to become if you're selling marketing education services, and this is the only place you've learned stuff, and you're repackaging ideas from inside NHB, I can see why that would be a conflict. If you're teaching someone how to, I don't know, let's say you come up with a unique way of writing a book, and then you're how to market your book is being attached to that, and you're using some of our principles. That's kind of a separate category. So I don't think.
So in terms of like, if I want to offer CRO services, right, and I'm
Yeah,
writing content or something, I'm not selling a product.
yeah. So
Like,
then
right. So my question is not different now, right? From ethical product creation to, yeah, it's a different question.
yeah, no. But the to kind of continue with that line of thought, you're just presenting your skill set and your knowledge base. So that's like that as part of your sales process for something like that as service. I think that there's nothing misaligned with that. So feel free to use any of the concepts here that make sense for that. It's like
Oh,
you're not selling information there. You're
I'm
selling.
not teaching it, or
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not teaching the concepts. I'm using
Yes,
it.
correct. So I think there's
Okay.
a clear distinction there.
Yeah. So
Esther.
I got really confused within product and service, right?
Yeah. No, for service, I wouldn't hold that back at all. That's just demonstrating competence, and
Yeah.
your understanding of knowledge. It's different if you were selling an info course and or coaching services. That's where you're starting to get
What
kind of
about a system? What about a system like um, copywriting system, in the sense AI system, right? It will just write the copy for you.
yeah. So okay, we're going into the weeds here, Rishi. So I'm gonna just kind of call time out in it because we can expand the
Yeah,
pool of questions here infinitely. For selling
yeah.
services,
I'm getting pretty confused, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
for selling services, I wouldn't have any issue with that at all. And I wouldn't let that tangle you up. You're demonstrating your competence
Mhm.
there in terms of your skill base, the knowledge you have.
Yeah,
Your,
that was a major issue, right? I keep on jumping between ideas and
yeah,
different distinct things.
Yeah, yeah. And so, Esther, hop in. Rishi, I'll answer this other question on research here now in 1 second, and then we'll move forward. Esther, how can I help?
Hi, I'm going to take this in a totally different direction,
Sure.
but I have to get on a client call in 10 minutes. So I
Yep,
was trying
go
to
for
just
it.
get my question in.
Jump in, nudge your way to the top of the queue. Go for it.
Okay. So I have a lot going on, but one of the things is my business partner and I in 2022 wrote a high ticket, like $5,000 price point course on how to write unskippable YouTube ads.
Okay.
So we made this is like pre chat GPT. So this was like full on, we wrote and edited it all by hand, you know? So it's like a 250-page book and there's like 30 hours of video content. It's kind of a not the prettiest member site. I built it all in Entreport, like in the Entre pages stuff, and I created logins and stuff. Anyways, we never spent one penny. We only told our friends and posted it organically on Facebook.
Yep.
And we had a couple discount codes. There was like an opt-in for a free YouTube ads template. There was an hour call that my business partner is brilliant. He just free flowed for an hour. And then if somebody still wanted to like book a call, if they didn't want to buy, then he would get on a call and just like sell them. So it was very like hands-on. This was all before we had a lot of client work. And so we were just like, let's just do something while we're trying to find how to make money. Right. So essentially without $1 spent, we sold about like $35,000 worth of this course. And then we ended up just letting it die because we started getting client work. And then our client work became our number one priority. And we started just focusing on that. Now, a few years later, we have a team that's like 7 of us. And so we have a little bit more time and we're launching a supplement offer too. We're working, all of our client work is our primary focus on money. My question is now, we are looking back on this YouTube ads course being like, why did we let this die? And we know since then there's been some changes with how we would write pitches and hooks now, how we would utilize AI, and how we would add some more levels of compliance into the training from when we originally wrote it. So we're trying to decide if it's worth us doing all of those edits to make like a premium 2.0 version before we launch again, or if we should just start running some ads and testing to the current thing we already have built while we're optimizing it. And then maybe everyone who comes in at maybe a lower price point on 1.0 version, they can be upgraded automatically to 2.0 without a cost. Like that could be one of the angles of getting people into like while we're updating it. So I guess my question is, sorry, that was a lot of information, but my question is, do you think it's worth us, because we already have this thing built, that we just start testing ads and trying to scale and grow this thing that's already existing before we optimize it further? Or do you think we need to put in the time to like really create that 2.0 version before we go?
I think you can probably go with the 1.0 version, as is. Just be like, as you're saying, like upfront. Hey, we're actually updating this for 2.0. Do it at a discounted rate right now, in terms of like your positioning. Where whatever it's called 2.0, people have paid X for X for the previous version. You're getting into the 2.0 version at the same price. Like I would kind of go down that mental architecture for it. What mechanism are you selling it? Are you going to go via webinar? Are you doing book a call? Or are you is it like a low ticket offer now that you're like selling on cold media?
And that's what we're trying to figure out, because originally it was like kind of like an hour. It was kind of an hour. I don't even want to call it a VSL because it was free flowed, but it was about an hour sale. Essentially, it was a full sales training video for an hour. And then after that, it like pitched in if you want, like this is like for my course. And so people could check out right on the screen. But if people didn't want to, they booked a call,
kind of
right? And we have a
webinar.
phone sales. We have a phone sales team. So like we have the ability to do the call thing. But that's what I mean. We never paid 1 cent in ads. So we never optimized it. It was like everyone who bought it knew how we crush, and so they wanted to buy it, I guess.
Yeah.
And
So yeah, but again, similar. You've part of the solution aware, part of the market. You're like the audience you're fishing in. Were kind of new, like, and trust you already. Going to cold,
yeah,
like,
and so it would be like offer owners or like super affiliates would be like the main audience,
yeah.
people who are running traffic on YouTube.
I think you can go with the 1.0 version for a relaunch. I tell you, let's put a time out here on this now, because I think I'm operating on a bit too thin on the info. Drop the link to the offer in the lounge. I'll have a look at it afterwards, or set up a post in the forum. I'll have a look at it afterwards if you want. But my inclination in terms of, like, if you're looking at it from a limitations perspective, as long as you say, hey, we're updating this to add AI, re-architect hooks, and everything else we've learned since 2022 when we originally recorded this, and that's part of your relaunch strategy, just say it up front, and no, people won't care. They'll be excited about it. So I wouldn't let that hold you up, because you could spend all this energy, which is what most people do, rebuild the damn thing, go out and launch it on cold, and you find you've, like, run into a wall in terms of, like, actually we can't get this to convert on cold media for some reason, unknown extraneous variable that we can't quite quantify, right?
Right. So it's better for us just to start testing some ads and stuff,
Validate.
and optimizing. Yeah.
Validate,
Okay.
validate the new format, because, like, if you look at the previous one as well, like, you have good validation previously. It's from a warm audience who trust you. Like, we haven't tested this on cold media, so you're now, let's re-architect it and test it on cold media, and, like, you go through this new product development cycle for a product that people are unwilling to purchase unless they know you for six or 8 months. I don't think that's the case, but you see that's kind of, you see where I'm going with that. So don't put yourself in that category where you burn all this energy. Oh my God, we've got to make the course. We've got to do this. Module 7's not perfect, right? We got to keep fixing it. And then you suddenly get into this, 6, 8, 12-month development cycle potentially, because while you think it'll be 2 weeks, it's never 2 weeks.
No, it's never.
So just validate selling it would be my. You've got enough there, and you can just immediately hold a workshop for new buyers, like, weekly. And that can be your way of doing the actual course. Here's how we do AI. Do an AI workshop. Bang! You're just starting to add on to it immediately. So it's making it interactive, and then any of them who want to become high ticket clients or, like, get direct one-on-one support, you're kind of, like, pre-selling them for that. So I would just go that route. You've enough there. You've already validated it. I'm assuming the previous customers were extremely happy with what they'd purchased in the previous version of it.
Yeah, we had no refunds, so
there's a lot of residual IP there. Just start.
yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Oh,
This
no.
is my first time jumping in one of these calls.
Yeah.
I'm new to the group, so.
No, my absolute pleasure. But yeah, no, don't let perfectionism get in your way. Just start. I think you've enough there from the sounds of it, and you probably have a great product for cold media. So just start, but validate that first, because if for some reason you can't find a form factor that it's selling, and you've got all this other, you guys have a lot of business objectives you're going after already, right? You've other things that your precious time could be spent on, and if for some reason you can't sell this thing, don't burn another second on developing it, right?
Right. 100%. Thank you so much.
Okay, super. Okay. Yes, Stephen. Yeah, we both have that problem. Get stuck in that trap. Okay, Rishi. So the last thing, and there will be zero follow-up questions on this, by the way. So I'm just going to go straight to the point with this one, right? The way I would do.
Yeah, this question, right?
No,
how to find products.
I'm timing you out. I'm going straight to just answering what's on the page here and muting you. And for no other reason than we've got a lot of other people who have questions here, and the meat of this call needs to be organic. But I'll just give you my quick baseline thinking here on this. It's like, for how to get ideas of what products are being sold in niche, the common ones, bestsellers, rare ones, etc. And you're thinking alt health market, what qualifies an info product versus various formats? Okay, that was the question. This is primarily ecom. So I would start with keyword research. Amazon is a good place to go as well, and just look what's selling there. Answer the Public can be another great resource too. And then if you go to AnswerX, especially if you're in alternative health, almost certain this is what, yeah. Content for creators, brand advertisers. Yeah. What's their products here? Spine, yeah, this native ads tool. This is great if you want to see who or what brands are running traffic on native ads, and you can put in your keywords. You'll see what other products are being sold here. So for example, if it was around sleep, even for Ush, who was or not Ush, for Ans, who was on earlier on the call, who was doing sleep offer. If you want to go and find sleep supplements, this is a great tool. Just throw your keyword in there. You'll start seeing all of the advertorials that are being run and people who are selling products. Not all of these products being straight up are being sold that actually work. I'll just be straight. There's a lot of people on native ads who sell garbage products, but we're not. I don't care about that from a research perspective in terms of stuff that's being sold. If their products don't work, that's their issue. They shouldn't be running them. But we can definitely
This
find
is just for supplements.
demand, primarily supplements. Yeah, but you'll find some info stuff here as well.
Yeah, because as I'm aware of the supplement space quite a lot. The info space, I've never bought something.
Yep. So for info, other places you can look are like WAP. You can check out Udemy as well if you're looking for courses, just to see if there's any in any demands. So places
Okay, right.
WAP,
Got it.
Udemy, Udemy. Um, then you can obviously go to school. They have like groups and stuff there, and then I think what's the Go High Level have Go Collab. These are like communities and course platforms. So you should, if you want to just see, hey, is someone selling something in the sleep space? Again, just use that example. Go and search on
Yeah.
WAP. There's another one
So,
that's
what you're saying is in the market, is there a demand and supply for information regarding health, right?
yes. You just go you can go and tap into some of that existing demand.
Okay, understood.
Perfect. Okay. So Uj, what would be the most important thing to focus on building out your product, your front end offer? What are some places you've seen people get started, get lost in the weeds, and focus on things that don't really matter as much? Yeah. So this will kind of depend on if the audience is solution aware, or problem aware in general. For the solution aware audiences, this is where the ugly websites, guys. Everyone, you don't need a pretty website. Just make an ugly website. Yeah, a lot of you guys say that. The reason you get away with that is because you're selling. You're selling. I don't know, stuff that is. We're selling camper vans. It's like, who cares what the website looks like? I care about the camper van. It's like, so yeah, my website looked like crap, and I sold $1 million worth of product for years. It's like, yeah, because you were selling something that was self-evident and people were already researching it, right? So the for that segment of the audience, you just want to present the product, get it out there, be really really clear, right? People get lost for this. Will get lost in branding, design, and generally over architect the sales process pre-launch, right? Now, for the problem aware crowd, the inverse is true, right? Too many shortcuts get taken. Around messaging. Um, messaging, brand factors, like on-site brand factors. This all matters way more for that because they're on-site factors, shortcuts, on-site factors, qualitative feel of the product slash pages. All this what matters way more for that kind of problem aware crowd because they don't a solution isn't as evident to them, right? So they need more bells, whistles. This feels magic. For the guys who just like know what they want, you got to just show it to them, right? So obviously, does that mean you should just like, if I've got a solution aware product, I can just like cut corners everywhere? No. But in terms of like initial validation, that's kind of where I'm looking at your question through initial product validation and initial product validation lens.
In my mind, I kind of had it the opposite way because I would think that someone who's solution aware, they know all the different products in the market, so therefore the more polished and high quality your, branding and all of those things appear, the more you kind of stand out from the competition. Whereas with the problem of air market, you could get away with, the ugly sort of websites and stuff, and because the info or the offer is so good and they've never seen it before, so the actual quality, the qualitative factors don't matter as much.
Yeah, I kind of think it's the I kind of think it's the other way around. You'll like the I suppose for ecom versus service is kind of a difference. You could look at this through two lenses, right? Ecom service. You're thinking of it through a service lens. Like for ecom, the product is is the uh is the value, right? So they can just look at it, and that's kind of where my head was coming out from this. For service, I still think if like look, obviously, in general, to validate an offer, even a service, it's about a conversation with a customer, right? So you can have a pretty website, and like that doesn't you don't need that to validate that offer. Like for example, I'll just come back to your offer. We know what we're working on right now. We know the form factor we're building. We micro optimize that page and show it to someone. If you were, especially if it's like there's a phone conversation going on there, it doesn't need to be perfect. They get the message, right? So like you can bridge the gap because the problem is so self-evident to them, and your solution is so has so much appeal that like if the page isn't perfect, it doesn't matter, right? So it's kind of it's also into this self-evident versus value of offers. You can lens that in as well, right? If the offer is self-evident, you can kind of get away with it being a bit more ugly, less polished. If the offer is more valuative, it's kind of has to be a bit more singing, all dancing, beautiful, perfect aesthetics. All T's crossed and I's dotted, right? So that would be just the kind of way I would be thinking about it from that. But yeah, and so I see a lot of people. It's kind of funny when people have. It's funny how people will overburn energy, and I think this is kind of speaks to a different part of what's actually going on. We have these kind of like mental psychological barriers, and so to launching any business, and so we put up roadblocks where we put up objections to launching in our way everywhere. And so, for example, for when you have a self-evident offer in this kind of, let's say we're selling camper vans, the website's not perfect. We need to make it perfect. We get lost there forever. When you've got the evaluative offers, problem where these are typically info type products. We spend 7.5 years making the course. People just that's what the problem is, right? We to make to make mountains out of molehills everywhere, right? So it's like people will find ways to just expand time. I think it's kind of part of the human wiring. Um, and so, yeah, I think that's people almost find ways of just mentally masturbating, for want of a better way of saying it, and wasting time, no matter what. It doesn't matter which, if it's a self-evident offer, an evaluative one, we will just go and find ways to just make something the biggest issue, a way bigger issue than it needs to be, especially just in pre-market validation. I'm guilty of this as well, by the way. Like this is kind of I'm speaking to myself here as well, right? Partially, I'm speaking from experience, like, but this is something I see. Doesn't matter what it is. You could be selling, selling hammers, and it's like, you just literally got to get builders and show them the damn thing. It's like this is or whoever it's for. No, we gotta do this, we gotta do that. There's all this crap gets in the way. It's just like, no, show them the damn product, right? Or it's like we have this info product, and it's like, have you validated it? Well, we're gonna spend eons making the damn thing. Kind of similar to Esther's previous question. You see where she even went in that direction, and not in a not in a bad way. It's like, we can validate this thing first, right? Before we burn another ounce of energy. Like they have like probably it sounds like their course is like 85% of what it would be if they retooled it. 85% is good enough to kind of just go and validate it for right now, right? Because they haven't validated the demand side. So start selling and get moving there. But yeah, it's just like the main issue, I suppose, coming full circle here, the main issue I see is people just invent a bigger problem in the business than really needs to be there, and go and find ways of burning energy that don't add anything to the bottom line. I'm as guilty as this as anyone.
Makes sense. And when it comes to, I guess where you're spending the energy, for example, I'm looking at my to-do list right now. What I have is, hey, on one hand, I'm working on the landing page, then I'm working on the cold email, stuff. But then I'm also thinking about, oh, what content do I need to be posting on LinkedIn? Because I know,
Mm.
I'm kind of creating that organic audience as well on LinkedIn. And then I need to be doing the manual outreach every day as well. So just I don't know, just
I would think
it's like, am I doing too much right now, or like should I just focus on, one thing at a
there is
time? Like,
there is a potential of doing too much, but I think a simpler mental model would be, if I had this finished 18 hours from now, what would that mean for the business? You know, so if I'd finished this page, is that more or less useful than posting on LinkedIn for me today in terms of just like immediate
yeah,
reflexive problem, right? So it's kind of like think about the next 18 hours, not the next 18 months. And that I think just keeps you a little like obviously the strategist needs to think about 18 months from now,
yeah,
right? So but the implementer needs to think in the 18-hour timelines. Like we kind of have this is a separate call totally, but I'll just put it up here at the top. We have the performer slash implementer in our businesses, and we also have the strategist, right? The strategist makes plans, spreadsheets, ideas, ideas of what new product, new product or what we're going to create. The performer, the implementer, makes shit happen. Shit happen, right? Everyone feeds this one. This guy gets all the cake he wants. This guy gets crumbs. And that's kind of actually layered into the kind of original thing of your question. I was going to talk about this on a separate call, but it's kind of actually at the core of your question, just in a roundabout way, right? And the that's what I mean by the next 18 hours. That's your implementer. He what would be if I just had this done as a lever in
yeah,
terms of what would that mean for the business? It's like if I post 3 more times on Instagram this week, what would that mean? Well, I might get 2 people outreaching to me and it would lead to a sales call. If I had the offer finished, that and it's and validated, then I can do this, and this. I can start the email campaigns. I can maybe start
makes
my.
sense.
It's
Makes
just like
sense. Yeah,
the impact on the business is so much larger for one versus the other. So it's like then like Brandon has it for his CRO stuff where he'll talk about a CRO on a CRO road testing map where it's like how simple is this to implement, right? If making your website is a 17-year event, not that it should be, but as let's pick some random business problem. If I just had this done, that would mean this. But I need to hire a software developer, or we need to
yeah,
code something for 18 months, we need to build an MVP model, etc. That's a 20-month journey. Versus then now posting on LinkedIn seems like the 18-hour thing because then I can get a client potentially, right? That's your 18-hour implementer. They go there, but you're not in that. Your quandary isn't there. Your website can be done in it has
yep,
your capacity to implement on that problem is high. You don't have this massive executional lag. So
yep,
that would be the way the way
agreed.
I'm thinking about this
Yep.
is it sounds like your strategist is kind of taking over, right?
And
Um,
which is totally fine. Just I think based on what you just said, the thought that came into my mind is, once I kind of have the website ready in the next few days, that is like my foundation, right? Then the cold emails, the LinkedIn, like I'm driving traffic.
correct,
The more eyeballs I'm getting on my offer, the more likely they are to kind of see, oh, like this is the
correct,
amount of value I'm potentially missing out on.
correct,
And then the possibility of conversion just goes up way way more than if I were to like start doing my outreach with like a half-baked
correct,
foundation.
correct,
So
correct. It's the if everyone has this in their business, right? Where it's just like there's just this one time. It's essentially it's like looking at the bottleneck. It's like if I just
yeah,
had this one thing fixed, it would open up all these new possibilities. And it's like, especially if those things are like short term, short term solvable, and you're like dancing around
yeah,
all the other stuff that's less important. That's kind of the
yep,
strategist taking over, making plans, ideating, the dreamer, that type of stuff. And you need that. Every business needs that. Like that's how we as entrepreneurs get here. But this is the person who just like gets the tools out and chips away at something, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, as you said, like whenever you can say, then I can do this, then I can do that, then I can do the other. That's where the energy typically needs to be, right? Whereas the secondary, it's kind of like the primary secondary payoffs call we had, where it's like your secondary payoff of posting on LinkedIn is I maybe get someone to reach out to me. Your secondary payoff of finishing the website is I get to start my cold email. I get to also include that into all of my other business activities. I start potentially getting to run retargeting ads. Like it's just more expansive. So you can kind of see that the downstream consequences are way bigger for doing this versus that. Like if we develop another 20 products versus finish the one we have, right? Let's finish the one we have. It's always going to have way more impact, right? Can you imagine if
I
after?
think, yeah, just finding the balance between these two states,
Yeah,
mentally. I think that is you do some strategy, but then you're also implementing that strategy and you create that feedback loop.
you should have two to-do lists, right? Like one is strategic and an
Yeah.
idea vault, right? Oh, we could do that. Just like somewhere you just dump ideas, and it's like maybe at the end of the week you come back but then your implementer just gets, maybe it's on like some people will do it at the end of the day where they'll just like make your plan for tomorrow, but
Yeah.
you could do it at the start of the week. It's just like here's what I want to get done this week. Here's the to-do list. It's like go pen
Which is what which is what we're doing in the fast feedbacks and live launches. Like, the strategy keeps, we have that feedback cycle,
Yeah.
which is very helpful, very incredible.
Yeah. No, awesome. Okay, cool. But yeah, the performance implementer and strategist. That's really, this is, to be honest, yeah, this is actually at the real root of the issue. This guy tends to just take over because it's the reason this is the case is typically because this kind of comes into this kind of failure to launch thinking, and I think a lot of the reason this happens is because this is where once something is launched, we get feedback, and sometimes that feedback isn't what we want to see. And so there's like this hidden monster under the bed, i.e., maybe this isn't going to work. And so it's just like, let's just keep making plans and dreaming about it being great, right? Versus actually just doing something and then getting kicked in the teeth, which is kind of how marketing works, in the earlier years, right? And just general product development. But yeah, the performance and the performer tends to get tangled up because of that, I think. Okay, next would be Andre. Okay, and then we're going to get into the organic stuff. Maybe bridging the gap between the front end and back end. Andrew, are you on the call? Damn, I was hoping you'd be here. Bridging the gap between the front and back end. Let's say we've a dialed in logical and maybe fancy back end upsell paths and ways to think about them. We cool. Yeah, I think I need a bit more context on this one. So if we're front end dialed in logically and maybe fancy back end upsell paths and ways to think about them would be cool. Okay. The best answer I can give for you now, because I kind of feel like if you were here, it would be great. Stephen, feel free to hop in once I finish this thought. We have a low ticket mastery call. The low ticket mastery call is the foundations for thinking on this. I think these would be good for you to review. Will kind of help you getting thinking about the full architecture. Most people on the front end guess. Yes, what do you? Oh, I did this last week as well on the low ticket recurring call. These would be two good calls to review for you as well, because your back end ascension is actually primarily attached to consumption of new novel ideas and aha moments. And so that's actually what needs to happen to fill your backend. So I think actually that low ticket recurring call, in fact, the low ticket mastery is a good call, but this is actually higher importance. Rewatching this, because this is actually more attached to ascension. This is more the mechanics of the structure of front to back, but this is actually attached to how we ascend people. So I think you'd get a lot if you haven't, Andre, rewatching that low ticket recurring call, because a lot of that is attached there. Okay, Stephen, hop in.
Hey, I'm on my phone. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and
All
clear.
right, good. Just a couple of things. Number one, with the thing that you were just talking about, for the ascension, and you just happen to buzz right by the line. Consumption on the front end is what dictates ascension on the back end.
Yep.
And tying it to what you mentioned to Esther earlier, one of my new offers is a low ticket, very self-evident tool But as part of that, I have a live onboarding session
Yeah.
weekly with everybody that buys the tool, right?
Yeah.
And what that's doing is it's forcing them to, or not forcing, but it's underhandedly, I'll admit to, giving them a way to spend time with me, get Q&A, feel all the warm and fuzzies, because I want to leave them with that feeling, so that as I continue to be in communication with them and I reset the next mile marker, see the double ascension call for that one, it naturally leads them to wanting to work deeper with me,
Yeah.
asking about different ways they could figure out some kind of back end arrangement with me, blah blah blah, instead of having to figure it all out from the beginning. And this will also go into the how much do I build it, because I have some fun little things to help with that. Number one, when people are in the solution aware state, you have to understand they've already come to a conclusion about the type of solution that they're looking for. The evidence for this is Amazon and how Amazon works. People go to the platform and they search for something because they've already got something in mind that is a solution for them. They go through the educational process before they go looking for a product. Okay? So when you're dealing with solution aware people, as Kevin was saying, they don't need the big long thing, particularly because they've already figured out kind of what they're looking for and what they're hoping you'll include. So your page, as long as it covers those basics, you have a pretty good shot at them saying, oh yeah, cool, this is what I'm looking for. This looks like the place for me. And you can do that with info offers sometimes. And I'm sure the organic call will help with that, because organic gives you leverage over top of funnel and middle of funnel. Pre-COVID, that's how I built my big empire. But then on the product side, if you're testing products like e-commerce stuff, one of the things we used to do in the Amazon world, I kind of introduced that world to it because I was also in the Facebook and Shopify world, is before I spent any money on sampling products or this or that or the other, I'd find the idea for a product. I would get some graphic artist person I knew to Photoshop up me, a few different product mock-up kind of things, and I'd set it up on a Shopify page and run ads to it. And if I got engagement, if they clicked through, it would be a thanks for your interest, it'll be available soon kind of thing. And I could go through dozens of ideas and validate them and see if they really had legs, and test different headlines, test different problem angles before I spent a dime on the manufacturing process.
Yep.
So it's something to think about here, guys. In our world, we call it dry testing offers, right? How much do you really need to dry test an offer? Think about that.
Yeah, for sure. Also, just you're probably aware of this, Stephen, but on tools in particular, if anyone else builds stuff, one of the limitations that occurs obviously depends on how simple. If it's really simple, stupid simple tool, this isn't the case. But every time you purchase a new piece of software, as we've all experienced with a business in business, you have something that has a lot of appeal. You immediately acquire a technical deficit, and so that's kind of partially what's going on there for the tool you're selling as well, Stephen. Is that like there's a degree of a technical deficit that they're purchasing with the tool?
To be fair, my tool is already part of a superstructure.
Got it. So
I'm not playing the new software game. I'm doing something better with the shit that they're already in other people's comments saying, I live my life in this tool, I need that. Oh, there's the opportunity.
Yeah, so the limitation may just be an application. There's some degree of a limitation. How do I use this as best, in the best way? But we like the degree of that limitation could be massive or small, right? That's based on how similar it is to other things they've used, or if it's the complexity of the tool. But there is some degree of a technical deficit, and so that's kind of also partially what's going on your weekly call is that you're painting in the gaps in consumption, or just like slash their limitations with the tool, either in how they should use it or technically what they don't understand, and so that kind of drives up the appeal a little bit as well.
What's interesting is on that offer, one of the lever points is I have 100% non-tech person friendly, and I have a series of basic non-tech tutorials for non-techie people as a basic inclusion, just simple little things to explain a little bit of getting around in a very, very simple way. And I tested all this on a couple of my friends and neighbors who are like 75 and 80 years old, and even they could understand how to get around in things. But including that, that's the first thing that stood out on the sales page I put together. Like, that makes it so much easier. That makes me want to jump in, is because you mentioned that. So people will self-label that with that technical deficit thing if you're using a piece of software. And if you can speak to them without the jargon, that we all do in the marketing world, and make it non-techie, you've got a leg up on everybody else who's just trying to sound intellectually superior.
Yep, big time. Awesome. Okay, going to answer Joe's question here in chat, and then we're going to dive straight into the kind of organic focus of the call. Perfect. Thanks, Stephen. Appreciate the insights, mate, as always. Okay, question. If we were publishing a creator or expert, what markets would you focus on approaching that is a definite winner, please? Well, there's no definite winners in anything, Joe, but for you, the characteristics you'd be looking for would be a large total addressable market. The magnitude of the problem is high in general. The nature of need of the audience is typically in the more ever-present category. Which means they have an ongoing need for support. These are kind of three useful ones. It doesn't have to have all of these, but like an example of a market like that would be actually, Umair, I think your market kind of fits these two categories quite nicely. There's a large total addressable market for this. The magnitude of the problem is pretty high for them when they're experiencing this, and the nature of the need isn't ever present. This is kind of, it's cyclical / one time as it's emerging in the acute phase. In their mind, it actually is ever present when they move to the hormone therapy, right? So I think you kind of fit these three categories quite nicely, and that's why all my inclinations are telling me you have a great product there.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it becomes permanent.
Go ahead.
No, I said, yeah, it seems transient, and then it's actually just constant.
Yeah. So it's transient. Sorry, not yes. Yeah. But it's morphing. It's moving across that. But once it becomes a problem, it really is ever present. They're going to need it over time, right? They're going to just
it's when they realize that they have a sort of medical condition, then they say, "I wish I knew about this before."
Yeah, exactly, and that's essentially their acceptance of the problem, right? Once they've taken ownership of it, then they're just like, "Yep, I'm going to just keep purchasing this," right? For men, the example of that would be like hair loss, right? This is where all these the initially they think it's like, oh well, I'll just try a minoxidil or whatever it is, right? They'll try a monotherapy, and then it's like, actually no, I'm either going to go bald and accept it, or I'm going to be on these things, year round, whatever it is, finasteride, minoxidil, dutasteride, whatever the combination of therapies. You have like companies like Scandinavian Biolabs, have popped up off the back of that, because they're tapping in. These guys are. If you look at a lot of these bigger brands, they're all tapping into a stage of life change. Something is changing, and we're going to give you a solution to that. So changes are another big one. But yeah, there's no I think Hims is the brand in the US for the male stuff, or is that an Irish brand? I'm seeing a lot of this stuff on Facebook lately. Do they have service expanding market? Yes. Yes, exactly. The is the market growing or shrinking? That's another one. Yeah, that is part of the ultimate offer as well. It's another great one, Stephen. And then you can like the one of the ways to look at that is to look. You can yeah. So
Yeah, another thing that I really like about my market and why I've chosen it is because um there are so many other like monetization paths, right? You go in and then you can solve 10 other problems for them in so many other forms.
yes, but also once you acquire trust, you can speak to those problems, right? So
Yeah.
that's your initial purchase. Like, yeah, especially if that's the case, you really want for this to like build a conversation with that audience. Like the second they're purchasing, it's almost like you want to just roll out the YouTube channel, right? Like
Yeah.
just get them there consuming. You're like, hey, I think Vivia is the name of or
Yeah.
whatever it is, but it's
Yeah.
like we have this, but here are all the other problems we're dealing with. We're seeing our clients and patients dealing with, and just like start speaking to that, and then like have a like Dr. Phil or type,
Yeah.
talk show almost going on, and that just builds all this trust. It's like that's really that's how you take something from just like ROAS, we got to make day one sales to now it's the cost of acquiring customers like this secondary concern because it's like the lifetime value of your customers just expands so massively because you're acquiring trust at scale, right? So yeah,
100%.
if that is the case for your audience, like that would be how I would be thinking about the back end for this offer over time. Is just like this. I want to start a dialogue with this audience immediately, like a one-to-one dialogue with me, the founder, or someone, the founder, a brand representative, um, where we can just speak to all of the other problems that are going on for them and how we're solving them, right? Because as those problems start emerging, they'll kind of have heard about it from you already, and they go, "Oh, what product solves it, or what else do we need?" They just you become the source of all knowledge for it, so they will immediately come back to you as the point of at least consultation, if not purchase, right? So yeah, I think that would be big. But Stephen's got a good point there. Is the market growing or expanding? And some of the ways you can look at that is just look at demographic data and see like look at trends into the future. People who fit this demo are there more are is the population trend you know serving this or in terms of like 5 years from now are there more people going to be entering into this audience or leaving it, right? That's some of the stuff you can do for that as well. Okay, I think we're going to just dive into the organic stuff now because I think there's a lot of meat on this for this call. So Yana asked a great question, which was, would love to hear more about launching to organic audience with a low ticket and ascending. It seems the behavior is different, and yes, that's absolutely the case. Particular for her audience was they have multiple front and low ticket offers, not just traditional low ticket to high ticket path, and it's accessible accessible from IG bio directly. Worried it's lower in conversions. This probably will. And then Tom asked this as well, and so I would draw a distinction between multiple things here for this audience, and this may not be what we want to hear, but I think this is kind of just this will give you a depth of vision that will you can apply no matter what the audience is, because there's lots of ways we can kind of like slice this up. But if we just start with cold versus organic, you can almost separate these versions of the avatar and divide them in half. Cold know nothing about you. Nothing about you. And so that like the whole avatar assumptions call we did, the series, takes precedent there. There. We have like a whole evaluative process that we went through on those calls to help kind of like make that traffic convert. But all of these things are still true for this organic audience. However, there's different factors at play, namely what's been happening. Sorry, what's been happening with them on platform, right? So, is the platform long form or short form? Meaning, this can be both for video and for long form or short form. We can look at this by media type as well. Long form typically will have more trust being built because they're spending energy energy in consumption, right? They're either reading what your long form content is, you know, books slash long form blog posts slash on my back. Sorry, guys. Micro blip in the internet connection here. Thankfully, not for too long. Yeah. So they're spending any energy on consumption. So they're either they're reading your long form content, books, long form blog posts, etc., or they're watching it. And so that can be in a passive state as kind of disengaged background consumption, or it can be in a fully engaged associative state. And so you kind of want to think it through what's true for your particular audience, right? If I have a YouTube channel that I'm launching this to, and I know Yana, you're dealing with Instagram, but we're kind of just go through the whole lens of thinking here first. But if you have a YouTube audience, for example, and let's say I have a political YouTube channel, and I'm talking politics, and my channel is 2 hour long form content. It's like, okay, now we have a very engaged, high trust environment where people are in there may be some degree of passive consumption there, but the reality is it's more fully engaged, right? These people are thinking and engaging with the audience, engaging with the content, because it's creating thought for them, right? They're active consumers in that example. And I suppose for people who are reading here, so example, politics YouTube channel, long form content, engaged, active thinkers, right? An example with this would be like the trigonometry guys on YouTube. So that audience, the way I would deal with that organic audience is very different from the way I would deal with TikTok channel, posting 30-second clips with a simple hook around the topic. And so, for example, we have another girl, Erica. Erica blew up on TikTok. She was in one of my clients years back. Erica Law. What's Law TikTok? Not Erica. Erica Kohlberg, yeah. So Erica has I think she does long form now, but I think initially this was where she got her big blow up on social media. I hope she won't mind me talking about her here. You're a public figure now, so guess what? We can. Yeah, Erica blew up on short form. But the way I deal with her audience now, she's gone to long form now, which is kind of like transforming the relationship. But the way I deal with her audience would be much more different, right? Because she essentially has somewhat active consumption based on who her audience is. Kohlberg. Because it's usually around a hook, here's how to get Delta Airlines to give you $2,000 back for your delayed flight. She will get a degree of engagement from that because the promise is pretty high. The appeal of that's pretty high, but she's constantly having to cycle through different hooks. So there's no unifying topic here. For not none, less of a unifying topic for thought for that audience, right? That brings a nuance in for how you would have to deal with them. Right? So like, this is what I mean. Oh, I'm launching on organic. Well, some considerations here. All right. So as a general rule, this was my thinking before the call. For short form, more impressions have been built. They're aware of you, but they may not believe in you as much. Right. That was my kind of thinking, and as much, and kind of depends on the topic. Topic matters. Like Erica example above, Erica is kind of, it's all typically money related, so that became her unifying thinking was kind of like budgeting and money efficiency. That became her kind of like everything she talked about. But if the topic was relationships or health, like Umair as an example, you could be doing short form content all around stage of life problems, but because the unifying hook is for that stage of life, that person at that stage of life, they'll be more engaged when you have an offer, right? Whereas if it's just kind of like meme content, not going to get quite as far, right? So because the belief there's no authority building with the meme content where there is with the talking to problems as an expert, right? So it really depends on what's going on with you and the audience on organic. So it's like, yeah, that's kind of part of what's going on, right? What's the relationship the audience has at the organic level to the brand or authority figure. So you kind of need to look at the consumption pattern there. Another one to think about is kind of, is this organic audience keyword centric or trend centric, right? If it's keyword centric, it's typically going to be around a singular topic, right? When it's keyword centric. If it's trend centric and you're just tapping into an emergent desire, there's probably less authority being built here. And so, you need to handle this audience differently. Again, image or video consumption matters as well, kind of attached to this above, but I'll just kind of like zoom in on it specifically as another kind of point of thinking. You could have image short form, image long form, video short form, video long form. Kind of I've touched on them all already, but just I'll give you some kind of generalized thinking I would have around each of these. Image short form will be generally aware of the brand, may have brand or authority figure, may have no idea what they actually do. The main thing being served is really the kind of hook of the image, or the topic, right? Or the topic. And so it's like in an ideal world, if you're doing this, you would have a like, okay, so let me think. Like you could have a celebrity as an example who's building up tons of impressions, but they're not solving a problem, right? And it may just be like they're posting like loads of like, who is it? Who's like Soldier Boy a while back? He launched a video game console and made like $10 million because it was just a repackage of one of these kind of random did a video game console. He just tapped into gamers in his audience who like thought it was cool that he had something, but block my screen. They were just aware of him and his brand, so it was really a brand authority play that he did. That was the reason that was purchased. It wasn't on the quality of the product, or any of that. Whereas you could take someone like Kim Kardashian, and the impressions she was serving her audience was all around, personal aesthetic. So that created space to create, or the Kardashians in general, like all of these kind of like, makeup brands, etc. So it's like that was kind of like the relationship they had with the audience, made sense. But I think both of these would be a good example of like image short form. It was mainly on Instagram, quick posts, lifestyle stuff, and they just flipped it over, right? Not really building any authority. The image long form would be like more kind of like Facebook style posts. You'd see a lot of guys doing this. A lot of guys doing this in our world. Facebook long form, where they'll have an image. We do this. I do a ton of this in for all of the posts we do in Nothing Held Back. That's kind of image long form, right? Let's bring up our examples. This post is perfect for an image long form example. Come on. Pull the link over. So what's happening here is you have engaged consumption around a topic that creates an evaluation. Evaluation for the audience. / this is kind of attached to the aha moments, insights, etc. So if that's the relationship you have with your audience, you can lean into that. And I'll talk about how I would lean into that based on each of these formats. But yeah, here, this is loaded now. So again, we've an image for them to like kind of a mental schema, and then like long form content that helps them kind of consume, what this idea is, gives them more context, right? And so as a result, you get a feedback loop going. So it's like you can also then look at the feedback loops that are going on underneath in the comment section. Right, then video short form, similar to the TikTok example. And video long form is similar to the YouTube podcaster example of both. And so cold are totally unaware and have no kind of prior relationship with you, right? And so with you. And so essentially on cold media, we are relying on the uniform solution, well-defined problem, creating the conversion, right? Conversion event. On organic, to varying degrees, we are relying on the brand equity and trust we have built with the audience to be moved over to the launch, moved over to whatever we're launching, right? And so I would be first doing an analysis of the organic audience and going, is this keyword centric? Is it long form? Is it short form? Is there an aggregated topic that I'm thinking around? So it's like, this would be where I would be going, right? Is this long form or short form? Is this keyword centric or topic, trend centric? Is this built around, an authority figure or brand? What else do we have here? Yeah. is it image? Is it image or video? Just as a generalization there as well. Short, yeah. And so this would be kind of this probably it. And then I would evaluate from this. I would build a mental model of the type of relationship this audience has with my organic presence, right? So this would be how I would be thinking about it. Now, I haven't done a huge amount on organic, but like I'm still a consumer in that environment. I suppose some of the work we do here in NHB is kind of operating on organic at the moment. So still have uh, yes, per platform, exactly. Yeah, yes, Stephen, 100% agree. It's based on their consumption patterns. But yeah, I would be doing an evaluation here along these types of lenses before I launched anything on organic. And if okay, so let's suppose we could build a grid here. Let's just do an example I'll do Yana's example. Example, Yana. Sounds like insert table. It's on Instagram as the platform. It's the platform. So this will be short form, more than likely. Audience, probably trend centric. Probably, I don't know. This is missing for me. I don't know if it's built around an authority figure or a brand. I think it's built around an authority figure, and it's image centric. So this is kind of probably a good, reasonable approximation for what Yana is dealing with, and then let's kind of specify my thinking for them. Also, gender would matter as well. I suppose, like, is this male or female? Male or female audience? This is kind of getting more into the avatar assumptions type stuff. Kind of start layering in some of that there, male or female, and then like stage of life, co-occurrences, all that sort of stuff starts coming in again. So like we're moving a little bit into that direction. But yeah, so if this is Instagram short form, which is probably trend centric, image centric audience with probably an authority figure at the core of it. I'd want to make this offer. So firstly, need to be terse / to the point with this audience. So I'd probably steer away from long form pages. Like I'd want to be in that kind of more direct language on our sales pages. Still want that for all our sales pages, but you know, for all our offers for the most part. But yeah, we don't want to kind of get overly verbose here. Like direct, short form. Stephen, in fairness, had a great example of what on one of the previous calls. How do you describe your offer? What does a shovel do? It digs holes. We want to kind of get our explanation of what we're selling to them into that kind of category. Short, direct, to the point, easy to digest offer. It's probably trend centric. So, and given the format they're coming from, I think the qualitative factors of the pages we're building will matter more. So I'm going to probably put a bit more energy into like brand equity here for this audience, because like just the environment they're coming from is very kind of like image status focused, right? This being Instagram, right? So the comparative conversions call would be good. Calls to reference for this, but it's would be the comparative conversions call. And the unconscious mechanisms of conversion. Speak for like on page factors. But probably want to weave the authority figure into the actual offer in terms of like, they want to be on the page, on the VSL, on the VSL, on the page. This can't be faceless. Whereas if it's brand, and then because it's an image-centric platform, like a long-form VSL, so it doesn't really make sense here because we're probably dealing more with that impulsive slash intuitive style avatar versus the evaluative one, which would like the long form video consumption would be more in this category, right? Evaluative. Now, because they're still spending time with you on Instagram, like in any environment, if they've been spending weeks, months, or years looking at your post, they're maybe a little bit more into this kind of like they'll spend more time on your pages, so you can still have some more long form elements. But see how I'm just like through all of these lenses of analysis, I'm just starting to build a map of how I'd want to interact with this audience. So it's like, well, you could do a webinar, and they might come. Might not be the best way to start. Now, if you've got something super high ticket and you build a lot of hype for it, yeah, you could still do that. But that's not where we're going, more than likely. And you probably still could make that work with this audience. The webinar model. You just for that, if I had an image centric audience, who were consuming a lot of short form stuff, you're probably going to have to build a ton more. You're going to have to like before that webinar launches, you're going to have like a 2-3 week event building up the desire for that, right? You're going to have to be posting about it constantly. Like you're going to have to lead them to there to want to spend time for it and build up the appeal for it versus for YouTube guys, hey, we have a webinar, they'll flip straight over, right? So yeah, these would be the types of consideration I'd have now for an AC offer. For an all of my clients offer, style offer, it kind of serves this audience very well, this audience very well. They'll natively buy off this format, just who this audience is, because it kind of fits their consumption pattern. It's scannable. Even though it's a long form page, you could use one of the short form versions of it, but it's a scannable page with a clear headline, an easy low ticket offer. Makes a lot of sense for this audience. So yeah, I suppose we could look at it, do you want to go high ticket or low ticket as well? This would be something to consider. Like obviously you can still do high tickets, but it's just if I'm doing high tickets, that would be the webinar model that I was talking to, right? We probably need to, there's going to be more singing and dancing with that. You're going to need to massage them a bit more. For low ticket, you can probably send them straight to the page. Would serve quite well. There was another aspect of Jana's question that I think would be worth me exploring here now. So I'm going to just go back to it. Yeah. Just something else in the lounge. Let me go back to the Discord lounge. Okay. Where is questions? Here they are. I missed one. Well, that was for Charles. Yeah, here it is. I missed this aspect of it. Okay, now we'll start bringing some more specifics of these specifics in. This is more context for this call. What we're talking about here. Come on, come in. Bang. Just hold that up. Yeah, in terms of segmentation, I wish you were here on the call. Yana, are you here? I don't think she is. No, okay. This I'd want to probe on a bit more questions. I thought you might be on the call. But yeah, okay. So we'll kind of put a pin in that then, because there's that will depend on. This is kind of more based on who they are, what kind of relationship you have with them. I'm speaking to a little bit in the dark here on that. Okay. But yeah, okay. This would be where a lot of my head would be for this. I'd be looking at it through these lenses primarily. Is it short form? Is it trend or short form or long form? Trend or keyword centric? Is it based around an authority figure or brand? And then is it image or video centric? And that would be kind of the grid I'd build for myself mentally, and then I'd start building a kind of assumption of the type of relationship that the brand has with the audience based off that to move forward from there. That gives you this will help give you just a general theme or idea of how you can kind of interact with the audience. Now, obviously, like this isn't black and white. You can still move this short form to long form and a trend-centric audience to a clear problem, or transfer it from an authority figure to a brand and move them from images to video. Like it's not black or white. I just kind of want to know what's the kind of like prior existing relationship they have with the brand, because it'll let me get a sense of how much energy they're already investing in consumption. Really, like this is kind of really what's going on here. Is like I'm evaluating for how much energy they are investing in consumption and attention. Alan calls it attention and isolation. They have with this kind of organic content. And it's like if it's low investment or high investment. The investment is low, you kind of want to move, you're dealing with more impulse style offers. The investment is high, you have an opportunity for more kind of high ticket as an off rip. But also this audience will be more skeptical if you sell them bullshit. Like skeptical if you present shit to them if they have a high investment. It's like you got to have your like, okay, going back to the example from long form here that I gave, the trigonometry guys, politics podcast. You cannot put a shitty offer in front of those people. They just won't. They'll reject it immediately because they're evaluative skeptical types. They're thinking. Now, but that said, if you put the right offer in front of them, and they all of that trust and authority, you'll transfer over. You'll transfer more trust and authority over kind of automatically because they have that high investment of energy they've given you up front means that they're willing to move over. So that's the way I'm thinking about organic. Is really what the consumption patterns of people are like on it, and so it varies so much by platform. Like go into a completely different direction. Let's look at something like Pinterest. This is like the pure short form play. It's literally just images, right? So it's like it would be so topic centric. You'll still get comments on it, but the majority of consumption, you have to go and look at the consumption patterns, right? What's going on with this audience? Like let's say we were releasing a cooking book. Let's say that for this audience, and we were working with, I don't know, blesseddish.com. Okay, now it would be around you could very easily move them to a page where, from this, like an AC style page, flicking through the recipe book, simple, easy. These are actually, even though this is short form content, this is an example where there's a degree of consumption. Like this person's reading the this person is reading the actual recipe here, right? So it's like they're going through this part. She's gone through an evaluation of this content. It's not just simply looks great, right? Whereas if this was just looks delicious, that's not what Cheyenne here has given in the comments, right? There's like she's probing, so she's an engaged. This is an engaged person in the audience. Yeah, this person actually tried it, right? Like so much more valued of audience. Whereas if we take, I don't know, like fitness, let's just go to a completely different crowd. Let's see what's going on here for this audience. Slay girl, life goals for real, nice, wow, like zero engagement, right? So it's like we could have, they're both from Pinterest, but I have a high consumption example and a low consumption example just by swapping the audience, right? It's not super high consumption, but this is definitely a lower consumption path. So let's say we were working with this 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 example of a traffic source. Let's say this was the person we were publishing, and I don't know. Let's go into their channel. It's probably garbage. But you'd have to go through like all of this content and just look what's the consumption pattern here. And if it's like if this is what you're seeing, say okay, these people are just going to act on impulse and status and imagery, right? So like I'll need all of this in the page, a really clear, simple thing. Like maybe this is what we're selling. It's like Gymshark stuff, really simple, direct to the point, right? Yes. So you have to go in and explore like what the actual consumption pattern is the based on you know each individual offer or audience organic page, right? Like you could have two people on Instagram, and this would be the general trend I'd have with them. But you go in and look at one comment section and another, and it's an entirely different audience, right? Entirely different set of people who are arriving on the page because and the comments are kind of like your window into that. Let's click around here a little more. Okay, actually, you know what? Let's open up. Is there any questions we have here, guys, on this? Or any feedback, thoughts,
I
additional?
dropped a bunch in the chat.
Yeah, I can see him just scrolling through the comments here now. Long form consumption, you have the deepened sense of identity you can play to, yes. Pinterest is a paradox. Super short consumption per piece, but huge longevity in revisiting. What Pinterest is great for is using engagement metrics. Yeah, short aesthetic design cues your target audience responds to. Yes, great. These are great great additions, Stephen, for sure. But yeah, so much of the success you're going to get on organic is like based on what's going on with that audience. It's like, what's the strategy for launching on Instagram? You gotta do a bit more digging into the audience. I kind of wish Yana was here because I think she may have had a specific example. But this is how I think about organic. It's like, and this kind of loops right back to where we came at the very start of the call. Even Stephen, we were commenting on it, right? The whole consumption stuff, right? Or earlier in the call. It's like what consumption leads to ascension. It's like kind of the same thing. It's like what consumption pattern has happened here in the organic layer that I can use to move them to new product. That's like if it's low disengaged, low investment, kind of fluff content, you have a much harder time than if it's like highly engaged, or if you have a big authority figure. And I think from Yana, is Yana working with Michael? Maybe someone else. But for example, if you have someone who's got a big authority figure and it's trend centric, could be on like video long form. Like I'll go to like Michael Franzese. No, what's his name? Yeah, that's it. like I think someone else here in NHB is working with Michael, and he's doing a lot of long form on YouTube. But it's not really around a specific topic. It's around him as an authority figure. Like his whole, it's his whole like background in the mob, etc.
But I have to be as
And the
honest as
status associated with him. And so if I was layering this into this, if I was thinking about this organic audience, I firstly would be like, okay, what stories are we talking about with this audience? So what's the conversation I'm having with the audience? It's another thing that would come in. But for me, from like this Michael example, this would all be my primary focus would be on this and the authority that's being built here. And then all this other stuff um, is kind of like secondary as a concern. So like it really is it's so variable by it's so variable how you think about what to do on organic based on who the actual person you're working with is and what is going on with that audience. And so let's say I was working with Michael, like yeah, I think like they were running a webinar. It just makes so much more sense. But because it's not so Michael example. Take his full name properly. So for this example, like his authority figure, authority would be the whole focus for me. Like this audience is operating on his stories, his status, his you know the idealization they have about the mob life with him, and all of that. And so like for this is totally different from like all the stuff I would be thinking about from Instagram. Yeah, this Yana's definitely not dealing with Michael. This would be a totally different evaluation. So if I was creating an offer here, it would be all story focused. Like I would just that would be the whole nucleus I'd build this offer around. It would have a ton of narrative. I'd lean into long form, but like even just knowing from the consumption patterns here, like it's all storytelling. He's got like I think we were talking with someone here a while back. And it was like seven stories too hot for you, hot for YouTube, or like the type angle was the kind of the angle I was going with for this as a hook for his webinar potentially. And it's like I feel like that's the type of stuff that would work so well for this audience because like a lot of the value he's adding is coming from that place where it's like storytelling. So it's like I would just lean into all that for this. So it's like none of this other stuff even matters. Like it's not trend centric, it's not image centric. The consumption pattern being long form is kind of there, but other than that, it's like it's really based on who he is. So it's like all of my probing and thinking around this would be built on that. And then you got to attach an offer to it, which like that's kind of where I'm kind of probing in the dark here. I don't have a specific offer that we're talking about. So it's like I wish Yana was here on the call because or even Tom Scotes, because he was asking about organic as well. Because we could start applying some of this thinking and expand it to an actual offer. But yeah, for this, it would just be I'd lean into all narrative stories, you know, and then transformation through story as well. Whereas like I just for this Instagram example, I'd have none of that. Like it just wouldn't be a consideration. It's like here's a product, here's what it does, straight to the point, direct. So okay, I kind of feel like I'm probing in the dark here based on not having an offer. So I think this is going to be a kind of 1.0 version of this call in terms of organic. Maybe we'll touch upon this stuff again in a more direct way if someone has an organic offer that we'd like to look at. Hey, we have an organic audience. This is how we're working. We can bring these notes back up and probe deeper on this. But this is kind of like my first high level thinking on how I would be approaching organic and interacting with the audience through that lens. So other than that, I think we're going to round the call off here. Do you have any questions, guys, or kind of final thoughts, additions? Stuff we'd like to add, or other than that, I think we're good to go. You're welcome, Joe. I'm glad you enjoyed the call.
Cheers,
Mer,
Kevin.
my pleasure. And then Rishi, I hope you enjoyed the call, mate.
Yeah, it was illuminating because I had so many questions in my head regarding the ethicalness of what product or service to offer.
Hmm. Yeah, the if you want to post up some of your thoughts in the forum afterwards,
Yeah,
because it's kind of like
yeah,
it's more long form environment. Get kind of
yeah,
it gives space to kind of like you can go through a full evaluation on like what your limitations are or what you're thinking, and then it'll give a bit
uh,
more space for it. But drop it in the forum and then tag me and
yeah.
drop something in the lounge.
You mentioned the domain of competence, right? That pretty
Yes,
much cleared many of the doubts.
yes, yeah. I think that's probably where because when we were talking last week
Yeah,
on the call,
yeah.
uh, or I'm not sure if it was last week or the week before, but that was where a lot of it was
The
coming.
week before, 2 weeks
Yes,
ago.
yeah.
The domain of
That's
competence sort of clears a lot of doubts that was running in my head. Like, uh, if you have some competence, then you can sort of launch an offer or something of product.
yeah. Yeah, and if not, you know, if you like, for example, like I'll just go back to Umair's offer because he's still on the call here, right? Like he has the domains of
Yeah.
competence because I think he's a doctor, right? And so and he knows a
Okay.
lot about his product. But for example, let's say he was a manufacturer of the product in the same space and he wanted to get into it. The limitation would be I need to get someone with the kind of research background to kind of be part of the team, right? So he may have come to that market.
Borrow some authority.
Yes, exactly. And just yeah, the competence, right? But that was the limitation that would have come. It's like, oh, this is a big market. I'm seeing a lot of demand here, but it's like I am not X, Y, or Z expert. So it's like I need to go and get that person and add them to the team, right? So you're thinking through the limitations of you and your team based on that. But yeah, for organic, this would be where I would start thinking. Obviously, there's more to it. But I kind of feel like because we didn't have a specific offer we were talking about, it was kind of probing in the dark there a little bit towards the end of the
Yeah.
call. This is kind of a good base foundation of the type of stuff I'd be thinking. I think a real life example would be something that would be great to have had to this. So it's a shame Yana or Tom weren't here in the call, so we could flesh this out a bit more. But this is definitely where you need to start thinking. It's like, you know, what is it's what's the consumption pattern? What's the investment? And is it clear that they have a prior problem? That's another one, right? Where it's like they
This
had
is
a
going to be
problem.
very useful. This is going to be very useful in publishing offers, right?
Yes, because a lot of people you'll reach out to will be. You can even use this as an evaluation for potential partners. What are the consumption
Mm,
patterns that are going
mm.
on, right? For people you're reaching out to. Typically what tends to do well, if you can partner with YouTubers, they tend to
Mhm.
have like really great audiences because just those consumption patterns are so much more in that kind of long form investment,
Right.
and you're building up a lot of authority there. So it's like so much easier to transfer anyone who's got high consumption in that environment over to offers as a generalization. The kind of like TikToker, Instagrammers tend to be okay for partnerships as well. You can still do quite well there. I know a lot of people who do well, but the kind of TikTok crowd where it's based around kind of like trends and there's no real kind of like unifying problem that they're all aggregating around, tends to be kind of more impulse purchase type products, harder to move over. So you got to kind of like pick your poison with who you're picking as a partner based on what they're consuming or what the consumption pattern is like on the organic network. But okay, going to end the call there. Great call, guys. We'll get the recording rendered and up in the lounge ASAP, and I'll see you next week for more offer fundamentals. Take it easy, guys.
Yeah. Yeah.